ZipRecruiter, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard about it, so I'm just going to read it to you. It's a must-have. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates, okay? ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why our ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. One more time to try for free to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. It's something you need to know. Because right now my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of Sirius XM. ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Got a jam-packed show coming at you today. It is Thanksgiving Eve. There will be games, football games, tomorrow taking place. There obviously will be NFL games this weekend. R.J. Bell, our resident handicapper, the founder for pregame.com. He'll be on the show with us to handicap those games Vegas style. Definitely looking forward to that. Got some NBA action to get into. Big game in Oklahoma City tonight. Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, and, of course, the reigning league MVP, Russell Westbrook, is getting set to host the reigning defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors. Question marks as to whether or not Kevin Durant will be available due to that sore, sprained ankle. But everyone's anticipating he will play. And as a result, it'll be interesting to see what kind of game any of us anticipate from one or the other, and how much pressure is it on Melo and Paul George, even this early in the season, to step up and show up and let everybody know, put everybody on notice that they indeed are in Oklahoma City to legitimately threaten and compete for an NBA championship. We'll get into that as the show progresses. But the first order of business to get into, unfortunately, is our president. President of the United States of America. His name would happen to be Donald Trump. Yes, he went after LeVar Ball, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the more important thing he did was go after the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell specifically. Basically, Trump bashed a plan that he was hearing about that would keep NFL teams in the locker room during the national anthem, saying, quote, it's almost as bad as kneeling. This was his exact tweet. The NFL is now thinking about a new idea, keeping teams in the locker room during the national anthem next season. That's almost as bad as kneeling. When will the highly paid commissioner finally get tough and smart? This issue is killing your league. There's a few things that Donald Trump, President Trump, left out of that little soliloquy, diatribe, or whatever way you want to label it. A, there have been plenty of teams that have stayed in the locker room during the national anthem. It's something that happened religiously in the world of sports prior to 2009. The reason why I bring up 2009 is because that's when the Defense Department of the United States of America was actually paying the NFL. Because they wanted the National Football League to engage in what Senator John McCain described best as paid patriotism. Paid patriotism. And as a result, because of it, The NFL had folks out there standing for the national anthem, et cetera, et cetera. Military planes or jets, rather, flying over a stadium while a Star-Spangled Banner was being played. All of this other stuff. Building patriotism. Obviously, it assists in recruitments. It also engages the American citizen in a way that elevates the level of patriotism that one would feel. Now, we can have an argument or a discussion or a debate about the difference between nationalism and patriotism, as Stan Van Gundy did in his article in the Players Tribune, a coach of the Detroit Pistons, when he talked about how Dr. Michael Eric Dyson came to talk to his team and defined the difference between the two. And Stan Van Gundy came to the defense of all of these players protesting and kneeling. And by the way, it's not a national anthem protest. It's a civil rights protest. During the national anthem, there's a difference. There's difference in words. There's difference in the power of those words. And that's exactly what needs to be said, which is something the president has religiously failed to do. Having said all of that, however, he is clearly still on the attack as it pertains to the National Football League. Now, there's various tentacles to this. Okay, number one, the president, one could argue, is being a bit evasive and deflective. Because by talking about something like this and making news off of something like this, less news is made of his position regarding Roy Moore, who's running for the Senate seat out of Alabama, who has been accused of sexual abuse, particularly as it pertains to children. The president is on the record refusing to condemn him, saying, excuse me, he's categorically denied these things. There's no evidence. There's no proof. Blah, 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 blah. I'm taking no position on that. That's not my lane. The other side to this is President Trump going after the National Football League. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this on many occasions. I'm going to say it again. The president is on a vendetta trip. He wanted to own an NFL team. He was willing, as a former owner for the USFL, to coax other owners out of the USFL to sue the National Football League, believing that he was either going to get paid an exorbitant amount of money or that the NFL would fold and let some of those guys own NFL teams so they could become a part of the good old boys club. That is NFL owners. It didn't work out that way. He ended up winning a grand total of $3. $3, literally, no exaggeration. Then in 2014, he wanted to purchase the Buffalo Bills. But when he wanted to purchase the Buffalo Bills, owners and the commissioner got in his way. And it was when they got in his way and refused to co-sign him coming on board as an owner that Donald Trump decided to run for the presidency of the United States. Now, you can look at it you can look at that two ways. You can look at it as, he didn't have that toy to play with, so I guess he decided to run for the president. Or you can look at it as, if the NFL owners had let him in their good old boys club, Donald Trump would have never ran for president. And because he would have never ran for president, we wouldn't be dealing with what we're dealing with today. Which brings us to LeVar Ball, because when we talk about dealing with what we're dealing with today, we're talking about childish behavior on the part of adults. I contend that LeVar Ball still should have apologized. I'm sorry, not apologized, said thank you. He should have said thank you. I don't care what role Donald Trump played in getting his son and those two other teammates out of UCLA released by authorities in China. Even though they weren't in jail, they weren't in a hotel, they still were under the jurisdiction of the Chinese law enforcement regime. And the reality is, because they were stealing from Louis Vuitton stores, committing a crime, they could have been severely punished. Whatever role, no matter how small nor big it may have been, it should not be much for LeVar Ball to say thank you. Because clearly the president played some kind of role. He clearly did that. All right? But at the same time, The president doesn't need to be this petty. He doesn't need to be 71 years old acting like 17. Listen to this tweet that he sent to LeVar Ball about Ball's son, LiAngelo. Quote, it wasn't the White House. It wasn't the State Department. It wasn't Father LeVar's so-called people on the ground in China that got his son out of a long-term prison sentence. It was me. It was me, in caps. Too bad. LeVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. Just think, LeVar, you could have spent the next 5 to 10 years during Thanksgiving with your son in China, but no NBA contract to support you. But remember, LeVar, shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big deal, especially in China. Ungrateful fool. Really, Mr. President? Really? 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. I'll elaborate on my problems with that latest tweet and then some in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
When I sit up here and I talk about these things, I get annoyed because I got a few things on my mind. For example, Chip Kelly being interviewed by UCLA. That's something I want to talk about. New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets. Actually, well, I mean, I'm proud of them. They actually have 6 wins on the season. I didn't think they'd get that much. I wanted to get for those ridiculous tears Lincoln Riley, the head coach for Oklahoma, displayed because, oh, my Lord, he wasn't starting Baker Mayfield for the game. I mean, you're going to sit down for about 3 minutes and then you'll be out on the field. But because you're not starting and you don't have the C for captain on your jersey for that particular game, I mean, stop the presses. The coach sat up there and just crying like a little baby. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it was just hilarious. I mean, was it me? I don't mean to come across as insensitive, but my God. Anyway, I'll get to all of that a little bit later on in the show, but back to this Trump fiasco situation. First of all, let me say this. I'm going to read his tweets about LeVar Ball again. Quote, it wasn't the White House, it wasn't the State Department, it wasn't Father LeVar's so-called people on the ground in China that got his son out of a long-term prison sentence. It was me. Too bad. LeVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. Just think, LeVar, you could have spent the next 5 to 10 years during Thanksgiving with your son in China, but no NBA contract to support you. But remember, LeVar, shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big thing, especially in China. Ungrateful fool. First of all, he's a father, not a fool. That's number one. Very disrespectful for the president to say that. Number two, you talked about no NBA contract to support you. Lonzo is the one in the NBA. LiAngelo's a college student. I guess Trump forgot that Lonzo, his oldest son, was in the NBA already, playing for the Lakers. That's point number two. Point number three, poor man version of Don King just without the hair. So you dissing him now? But you had no problem hugging Don King and telling you how much you love him because Don King was supporting you for the presidency. He's somebody who supported you, campaigned for you. So LeVar Ball being a poor man's version of Don King, are you giving him a compliment? That's point number three. And I just think ultimately, and then he says, listen, he's just talking. In this tweet, it's just not good. It's beneath the presidency. But what else is new? 866-729-3776. That's 866-ESPN. Speaking of LeVar, Luke Walton had to check him because he was telling the Lakers they need to stop being too soft on his son. Get on them. push him hard, show him some tough love, et cetera, et cetera. And Luke Walton basically came back, I'm paraphrasing here, we're not concerned about anybody's parents telling us how to coach or run this team. I think LeVar Ball should have shut his mouth. He shouldn't have said that. But I will acknowledge this. There is no doubt that he has insight to his son that the Lakers are devoid of at this particular moment in time. And it might behoove Luke Walton to listen. Because LeVar Ball might have a point about his son Lonzo. He just might have a point. 866-ESPN, it's 866-729-3776. To the phones we go. Let's go to Karim in Manhattan. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Stephen A? Long time listener, first time caller, man.
Thank you, man. Go ahead.
I just want to speak on LeVar Ball real quick. I listened to the whole interview, and it seemed like his main story was, listen, I was there. This guy didn't speak to me. I didn't hear anything except for words that people said. So I don't think that he believes that the president did anything for him, and he just doesn't want to be disrespectful and come out and say it. So I think that you're being pretty hard on him by saying that he should tell him thank you, because LeVar Ball is a man that
Stop right there. Do you have children? Do you have children, Karim?
I'm sorry, no, sir.
You don't have children? Okay. You have parents who are living?
No, sir.
You do not?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I got your point. I appreciate the call. Thank you. My point was going to be if you were a parent or you were a child with living parents and you committed a criminal act and anybody assisted in getting you off, I think a thank you is not too much to ask for. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. All true. But it's not that big of a deal to ask for. And I think that's important to point out. That's all. Terrence in the Bronx, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Steve. Hey, let me get right to the point. This Trump thing has really got me upset. LeVar Ball knows who the president is. He knows what type of person you know, I know. We know this guy's a racist. And then for him to want LeVar Ball to thank him, well, who's next? This guy's going to ask everybody to thank him. The school thanked him. Then he got on the kids about thanking him. The kids finally thanked him. Now he's asking for the parents to thank him. LeVar knows this guy's a racist. Knows this guy's been mistreating NFL players because they're black. And he's talking to his base. The only thing he's doing is diverting everything from the tax plan he's got and all the things you mentioned. But what he's really trying to do is trying to defer to his base, because he knows at the end of the day they call the flag this, the flag that. But it's not about the flag. It's about the social injustice. But he knows his base only cares about that. So you know what? I have kids, and there's no way I would to that guy. I would say, son is an adult. A kid could go to war at this age right now. You know, so you know what?
Well, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, Terrence. I respect where you're coming from. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
But I can tell by what you're saying, and stay with me. I don't mean this in an incriminating fashion, but I can tell by how you sound that you're lying. And let me explain to you why I believe that you're lying. Because you come across as incredibly decent, incredibly conscientious, and obviously informed to a large degree. So what I'm betting is that you would have the intellect to step forward if your child was to commit a crime and obviously caused an international furor to the point where you don't know what level of assistance you needed to receive in order to get them home. Even if you felt this way about your president, you would sit up there and articulate, I don't like the man too much. I think this, I think this, I think that. But on this particular issue, I have to say thanks. I think that's what you would do, Terrence.
Okay, look, I understand what you're saying, and I do have children. And I've actually been in that situation on the other side with my parents, something that I was wrongly accused about. And they came and they did everything in power to make sure that I was safe, and I was vindicated.
Yeah, but you see what you do see what I'm saying to you. In other words, I'm not saying that you wouldn't feel the way that you're feeling. I'm not saying that you wouldn't say what you would say, but you wouldn't confuse that with being grateful for this one particular incident. That's all I mean by that.
No, I wouldn't do it. You know why? The way he treated that Gold Star sister with her husband and with that phone that the senator lady had heard, He's been disrespectful to everybody. He never apologized.
Yeah, he's been disrespectful. But by the way, if you're going to sit up there and say that, then you don't need to bring up race, because the fact of the matter is he's been disrespectful to people of all ethnicities. I mean, every time he opens his mouth, he's been disrespectful towards somebody. So they ain't got nothing to do with just black folk. That's everybody.
You're absolutely right, Stephen. You know what? The right thing to do, and you're a good brother, the right thing to do is to say thank you. But you know what?
That's all I'm saying.
This guy has done so much, but I wouldn't have done it for him because this guy has done so much.
It's not for him. But it's not for him. It's not for him. That's the point. That's the lesson that I'm trying to say, that we have to teach one another. It's not about him. It's about your core decency. Everybody's wrong doesn't make you right, particularly if you mimic their wrongs. Just because he's that way, and just because he chooses to conduct himself that way. The reason why so many of us are appalled by the behavior that we're witnessing from him is because we know right from wrong. We know what's better, not just for ourselves, but for our society, and we know we would do better. And what I'm saying to you, Terrence, is I believe you would do better in spite of what you believe and knowing your truth to be about him. I believe you would do better, because you're not going to be like him just because he would be that way. That's all I'm saying.
Same, my brother.
I got you, man. I appreciate the call, but thank you, and call back anytime. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Got some games to get into as well. In a minute, you're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Couple of things on my mind before I get to some of these games and back to Donald Trump raising Cain on Twitter. Karan J. Phillips, columnist at the New York Daily News, wrote a very, very interesting column today. Wrote a good column talking about how Baker Mayfield shouldn't apologize to anybody. I mean, listen, I was focused on Lincoln Riley, the coach, and his tears. I mean, I thought they were utterly ridiculous. Mayfield obviously a little embarrassed. Excuse me. Karan J. Phillips is basically saying he shouldn't have apologized to anybody. He was taking cheap shots from Kansas. He told the fans, in response, stick to, and, they were taunting him. They were, spewing vitriol in his direction and all of this other stuff. And he told them, y'all need to stick to basketball. Karan J. Phillips had a point. He said, the guy has a point. Since 2010, Kansas football team is 15-80. And oh, by the way, Oklahoma beat them 41-3. So they were giving him cheap shots along the way. He grabbed his crotch, screamed F you at them. Shouldn't have done that. Got caught on national TV doing it. Apologize and move on. That's a good point, though. Kansas football team, 15-80. Yeah, you say stick to basketball. That's a damn good point. It's true. This Kansas football program ain't much, but we know Bill Self and how he has that Kansas basketball program. So Baker Mayfield kind of knows what he's talking about in that regard. That's number one. Number two, Chip Kelly apparently has the decision between UCLA and Florida. It's amazing, isn't it? He leaves Oregon, goes to Philadelphia, stinks up the joint. Had a good year. 1 year they made the playoffs, they lost. But, ultimately how he dealt with players and, how players were not feeling him at all. The brothers didn't feel he was comfortable around them, all of that kind of stuff. Then he goes to San Francisco. I mean, he gets unceremoniously dismissed by Jeffrey Lurie, ends up in San Francisco, y'all. Goes to San Francisco. By the way, before he had a chance to pass gas, this dude had a $6 million a year contract in San Francisco. And thank God Trent Baalke and him were booted out the door at the same time after 1 year. And now, this season, he's been out of the NFL, and you got these college programs willing to let him go into somebody's living room and represent them. So be it. He's clearly innovative offensively. He did have success at Oregon in college football. But I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Chip Kelly took the UCLA job. You know why? Because it's easier. Pac-12 ain't quite the SEC, is it? You're having to go up against Nick Saban eventually ain't quite that easy, is it? Because you see Nick Saban, this man, who walked into this season with a 42-10 record in the SEC, a conference that has had 36 full-time coaches since Nick Saban arrived in Alabama. Because everybody's trying to beat him and nobody can. Not in that conference. Chip Kelly don't want a piece of that. Watch it. Y'all bet. I'll bet you. I bet you Chip Kelly going to end up taking UCLA job. And it ain't just because of the palm trees in L.A. He don't want to go up against no Nick Saban. He don't want a piece of that. He don't want a piece of that. Trust me. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. One of the other things we need to get into, big-time game tonight, Oklahoma City against Golden State. It's not a big-time game for Golden State, but it is a big-time game for Oklahoma City. They're 7-9. If the players were to start this year, they wouldn't be in it. Carmelo, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, that experiment ain't quite working yet. One would argue it's because a lot of hero ball going on, where they get together and it's like, all right, I scored, now it's your turn, instead of having fluidity within your offense, playing within yourselves and just feeding off of the offense to let you get going. I'm going to put that on Billy Donovan. He's a 2-time national championship coach at Florida. You know, you coach these guys to within one game of the NBA Finals 2 years ago. The Oklahoma City Thunder, when you had Kevin Durant and Westbrook. I'm sorry, Billy Donovan, but it's time to step up. The defense is looking good. You got to get this offense flowing in the right direction, and then we'll see what Russell Westbrook and the rest of the team is going to do. I'm looking at Carmelo Anthony, too. Don't get it twisted. Paul George has been to 2 conference finals. Russell Westbrook has been to 4. Carmelo Anthony went to 1, and that was more than 7 years ago. I need to see more. We all need to see more. Because we want Carmelo Anthony in a big-time situation where we can get an opportunity to watch him shine with significant stuff on the line instead of playing in a bunch of meaningless games for the New York Knicks. That's what we need to see from him. At least that's how I'm looking at it. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to the calls we go. Let's go to Matt in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A? It's my first time on the show. I really like the show.
Thank you.
I just want to make the point that if the Thunder keep doing bad like this, and that just makes Carmelo look really bad, because now you have a situation where he left the Knicks and they're doing good, and now he goes to the Thunder, which is stacked with Westbrook and Paul George and whoever else, and they have a losing record. They're not even going to make the playoffs.
Well, listen, Oklahoma City's going to the playoffs. Ain't no way in hell they're missing the playoffs. I promise you that. Carmelo and Russell Westbrook and Paul George will get it together. Russell Westbrook just needs to be the ringleader. There has to be an alpha dog in any talent-laden position or positions. There has to be an alpha dog. There has to be somebody that everything goes through. You know, I don't give a damn what job it is. You have to have that.
But doesn't this make Carmelo look really bad? Because the Knicks
if it keeps going like this, yes, you're right. If the Knicks keep winning, looking respectable and better without him, and Oklahoma City is looking worse this year, yes, it's going to be a very bad look for Carmelo Anthony. I just think it's too early to tell.
And last thing, this whole thing, that the fact that the Knicks have a winning record right now, that makes Phil Jackson look horrible, right?
No, it doesn't. Not yet. And the reason why it does not make him look horrible as of yet, first of all, a lot of these players are the guys that he had on the team. That's number one. Number two, there have been plenty of times when Phil Jackson was here, or at least a couple of times, when the team started out well before nosediving. So the jury is still out on that as of yet. What makes Phil look bad is how Phil dogged Carmelo and how he didn't do his job as president because he was never around to do anything. And he left Carmelo as the team spokesperson when he should have been that guy. That's the problem.
Thanks, man. You can tell Max Kellerman tomorrow morning that a Columbia student called his alma mater.
Okay. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Let's go to Oscar in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Oscar.
Hey, what's up, Stephen A. Smith? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you to you and yours as well. God bless.
Hey, I think we're losing the middle ground. I mean, LeVar Ball could be, he's just wrong for this. It's very easy to say thank you, and you can hate the president, you can hate everything that he does or whatever, but to just not be able to say thank you, Mr. President, this one time, I mean, it doesn't hurt nobody. And the other thing is, if you were Chinese, Stephen A., and you were covering the story of these college kids coming into your country and stealing something, I mean, what would you say about him? I just think it's just so foolish of them to actually go into a country, disrespect the laws there, and just.
Well, listen, we all know it's foolish.
Like
we all know it's foolish. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Of course we know it's foolish. Of course we know they had no business doing what they were doing, and they should be punished. Fair enough. But if you're Lonzo Ball and you're walking into the arena last night with your little brother who could have been in jail in China, you're happy to see him. He is your little brother. It was petty theft. He should not have done it. He was wrong. But you also got to show your little brother some love. And that was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Okay? And if you're the dad, yeah, you need to show some gratitude and you need to say thank you because you are very fortunate. You and your family are very lucky that this didn't end up being more serious for him than it actually was. But he still did wrong. You say you're thankful and you move forward and you do everything you can to correct that kind of behavior. That's all we can say. It's really all that's appropriate to say, believe it or not. 866-SAY-ESPN. Back with more of your calls in a minute before RJ Bell comes on in hour number 2. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get right back to the phones at 866-SAY-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Let's go to my man Mike. You're live at Stephen A. Talk to me, Mike. What's going on, big baby? Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you and your family. Get right to it. LeVar Ball and Donald Trump, they both need to cut that mess out, man. LeVar Ball know he need to say thank you. Because anytime your son get in trouble, your daughter, however they get out, even if the man ain't telling the truth, just say thank you that your son home. Because it could have been way worse than what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
You know, on that point, then tonight going to be a real good game. And like you said, not so much for Golden State, but to really see what Oklahoma City is. It's still young, but tonight could be a statement game if Golden State go in there and, blow them out. And then, they really going to have to,
I'm going to tell you, Mike, what else is on my mind. I'm going to tell you what else is on my mind. I think Boston's 16-game winning streak going to come to an end tonight in Miami. I think Miami's got a shot. I think Miami's got a shot to stop Kyrie Irving and those boys tonight. Can't win every game.
I'm look for that. Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Now, one quick question before we go. Will you be on the show tomorrow? Or I know you're on First Take tomorrow, right?
No. I won't be on the show tomorrow or Friday. Take it easy, man. Thanks a lot. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Let's go to James in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. First, I want to say I love your show. Happy Thanksgiving. And
happy Thanksgiving.
Even when I don't agree with you, I always respect your opinion a lot.
Thank you.
On this situation, I feel like this president, when have you ever felt like he's had your back? Or when has he ever stood up and said, you know what, your issues, social or other, are important to me? He's never made me feel like that. And now because he did something we voted him in to do, back up Americans, put us first, we're supposed to bow at his feet. Time out.
Someone
in his office said to him, this would be a great PR thing if you help this kid.
I agree. You're probably right. And it's not about bowing to his feet. See, y'all got to understand, I think y'all are looking at things through the wrong prism. I'm looking at it as LeVar Ball should be a grateful father because his son could have been in a world of trouble based on his stupid actions. It's just that simple to me. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with anybody. Anybody that helps your son out of that mess, and no matter the magnitude of their assistance, you should just say thank you. It shouldn't be hard to say thank you. That's all. Nothing more than that.
They both should be conducting themselves differently right now.
I agree.
And I think the president needs to step up and start doing more for Americans. And I think we grow to appreciate and say thank you more.
Well, we know that.
We really felt he had our back. I voted for him and I regret it. I'll admit it. I admit it all the time. I thought he was actually putting our needs and everything that Obama did. I thought he was going to try and continue some of it, put our needs first, help build the economy, have Americans' backs. And he hasn't. And you know what? He should have got this guy out. It's about time he does something for somebody other than himself. That's how I feel.
James, that's a decent point. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Ramez in Long Beach. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Yes, Stephen, I agree a lot regarding with you about LeVar and his ability to be an outstanding father. His most recent interview, I want to say, regarding the Trump situation, two things really stood out for me. Victimless crime and it's not like my son lied. Now, he's condoning, in a sense, the fact that his son didn't lie against committing the crime. And secondly, victimless crime. Now, the people that were employed at the Louis Vuitton store, I mean, do you think that, or the manager for that matter, do you think in some sense that Louis Vuitton may look at those individuals and say, hey, they just disrupted our ability to maintain a safe and secure store?
No.
If I'm not mistaken, it was three separate locations, right?
Yeah, but no, I think you're going too far with it. I mean, that's why you have cameras and the whole thing. People try unsavory things all the time. You don't hold an honest, hard-working employee accountable for that. I think that you're going in the wrong direction there.
Okay, but in terms of, him coming to his son's defense, regarding not lying. Well, it's not like my son denied doing it.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, you're raising three outstanding kids. We give you that. To the NBA, we give you that. But to say, oh, my son didn't commit this crime. I mean, you're condoning your son to say, well, you had an option to lie, son.
Yeah.
Essentially, you could have said, hey, I didn't do it. I mean, is that how you want to teach you? Is that what you want to do? I mean,
I definitely. Well, listen. You say it that way. Listen, somebody had to shut him up prior to him getting back to the States, because if you recall, he was wheeling his wife in a wheelchair in China, and his words were, "It's no big deal." And somebody like, whoa. Then you didn't hear from LeVar Ball for a while. Why? Because you don't need to be saying that while your son is still in China. You better shut the hell up until he gets back to the States.
Yeah.
Because China didn't need to hear that, because who knows how they would have reacted. It's a big deal to them.
He's making a lot of noise. I mean, I didn't know the guy a year ago. Now I know him, and his name is on my mind, which is fine. Now I got the president, our president, the leader of the country, acknowledging him. He's just adding more fuel to the fire when he should be worried about other world affairs. He's dealing with a small individual who has too big of an ego, He has too big of an ego that he can't cash in. His son can't cash in the checks right now for the Lakers. I mean, it's a mess, man. I mean, this guy, he's making a mess. I think he's making a mess.
I got you. Calm down. I got you. I heard you loud and clear. You're being a bit redundant. I got you. Appreciate the call, Ramez. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving to you and yours. Listen, Trump sparks that kind of reaction. He absolutely does. So does LeVar in certain respects. Because you got a lot of people that are looking at him. I'll tell you what I loved that he said yesterday when he was being interviewed by Chris Cuomo. I love the fact that he brought up how his son has never been in trouble before. He's a 4.0 student. I love how he made sure that we know that. And if that is true, that's phenomenal. But it also speaks to his intelligence, which makes you ask the question, where the hell was it when you were in China? So that's how we got to look at it here. Again, thank goodness it's over. Thank goodness LiAngelo is back on state grounds and there's nothing to worry about. But something like that, it better not happen again. And LeVar Ball doesn't need to be acting like it's not a big deal, when in that nation, it's a very big deal. 866-SAY-ESPN, it's 866-729-3776. Hour 2 up next. RJ Bell as well. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
ZipRecruiter, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard about it, so I'm just going to read it to you. It's a must-have. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates, okay? ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why our ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. One more time to try for free, to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. It's something you need to know. Because right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. You know, I don't usually go the direction that I go, and I pick and choose, when to address situations. When people call my name and call me out, call themselves calling me out, going into attack mode and what have you because they don't like something that I had to say. I had to address J.R. Smith a few weeks ago, and, that's over and done with, thank the good Lord. There's much ado about nothing personally. You just got to play better, plain and simple. Kevin Durant at one point, LeBron James at another point. Well, the latest is Big Ben Roethlisberger. Steelers quarterback, two-time Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer, felt the need to call me out. He didn't like what I had to say when I talked about him needing to retire, et cetera, because he was playing like garbage. And he took offense to me and other people questioning his heart, per se. I would tell you that he didn't interpret our words nearly as accurately as he should have. I think it's on purpose. But nevertheless, he did make an attempt. So with that being said, before I even respond, I wanted you all to hear what Big Ben Roethlisberger had to say, basically, about yours truly. Take it away, y'all.
Whenever someone says that, people are surprised Ben's still playing. If he doesn't care, he's not playing well, he must not care about it, this, that, and the other. You couldn't be further from the truth. You don't know what you're talking about. In a way, yeah, it's like, wait a second, you're going to take a shot at me, you don't know me, you're going to say, I'm going to go out here and bust my butt every day and be limping with bruises and put my body and my family through this and not care? You're absolutely nuts.
Okay. That's one sound. I guess we didn't have the other because he mentioned me by name, ladies and gentlemen. What I'd like to say is this. Basically, those comments were made yesterday on November 21st, following the Pittsburgh Steelers' fifth consecutive win. They beat Kansas City, Cincinnati, Detroit, Indianapolis, and Tennessee over the last 5 weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring that up because he made these comments Tuesday, November 22nd. He was reacting to comments that I made Monday, October 9th. On October 9th, last month, that would happen to be, ladies and gentlemen, 1 month, 1 week, and 5 days. So 5 weeks, nearly 6 weeks after I made this comment, here he is bloviating. Let me state for the record what transpired. On October 8th, the Jacksonville Jaguars sauntered in to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and destroyed the Steelers 30-9. They embarrassed them. That game, Big Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions. He wasn't quite Peterman of the Buffalo Bills because he did complete 33 of 55 passes for about 325 yards. But damn it, he threw 5 interceptions. He had not been playing well. I am a diehard Steelers fan, even though I'm a native New Yorker who loves L.A. I'm also a diehard Steelers fan all my life. And when Big Ben Roethlisberger was interviewed after the game and he said, maybe I don't have it anymore, I went off. I talked about how, look, then go to hell home. Retire. What do you mean you don't have it anymore? What's that about? Why am I saying this? Ladies and gentlemen, to a writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, I think it's Ed Bouchette. Bouchette, I think that's his name. If I butchered it, Ed, I apologize. Big Ben Roethlisberger talked to him after the AFC Championship game and intimated retiring. He just didn't have the zest to play anymore, etc. Then he decided that he was going to play, but then reiterated that he's not committed to anything past the 2017 season. And then on top of that, all after throwing those 5 interceptions, he said that. And what my argument was is you're Big Ben Roethlisberger. You're one of the great quarterbacks playing this game today, and you look nothing like it. Now, we all know that Big Ben takes hits, Big Ben and attrition and all of that. So we all get it. We get all of that. We understand it. Nobody's questioning it. Nobody's questioning his heart, his guts, or anything like that. When I question his heart, I'm not talking about somebody that was scared. I'm talking about somebody who's happily married, has children, wonderful family, and doesn't seem to have the passion to play anymore, particularly with this new school generation of players, because psychologically you got to walk in there every day as the quarterback gelling with these guys. And maybe, just maybe, Ben doesn't have a zest to do that anymore because it was showing in his play. I did not say Ben could not play. I did not say Big Ben Roethlisberger is some scrub. I did not do that. What I questioned was a guy that didn't seem to really, really want it as much as he once did. And I deduced that with Antonio Brown as your teammate, that with Le'Veon Bell as your teammate, that with Martavis Bryant as your teammate. I didn't even bring up Juju Smith-Schuster at the particular moment in time. With Jesse James as your tight end, with this offensive line that's just as good as almost anybody within the National Football League, the missing link, Big Ben Roethlisberger, was you. It was you. And because it was him, I said, take your behind home. I'm sorry, I apologize. I said, take your ass home. Those were my exact words. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 5 weeks ago. Now, obviously, I don't feel that way now because you won 5 straight. You got the 4th highest QBR in the NFL. So I certainly wouldn't say that now, but I said it then because somebody needed to light a fire under you. But don't get me wrong, I didn't do it to light a fire on you. I did it so if you didn't want to play, you go home. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my mind, are legitimate title contenders. If Big Ben Roethlisberger says I'm hell-bent on competing with Tom Brady, I want to be just as good, if not better than Tom Brady when we meet up again in a potential AFC championship game. I don't want to be the missing link. I don't want to be the weak link. I want to go up against this man. I want a Super Bowl this badly. I got no problems with Big Ben as my quarterback. But if you are on the football field thinking about the wife and marshmallows by the fireplace and running around with the kids jumping on your broad shoulders and carrying them around and being healthy enough to play, there's no crime in that. You've earned it, Big Ben. You deserve our respect. But we would need another quarterback if you don't want to play. And 5 weeks later, in the midst of a 5-game winning streak, here he comes. Here he comes. So be it. I disagree with his statement, the accuracy of it, but I don't find anything that he said disrespectful. If I'm entitled to my opinion, he's entitled to his. He didn't disrespect me. He just said it's crazy for anybody who doesn't know him to assume such things about him. I got that. I respect it. I understand it. But he's wrong. And by the way, he's the key because all of the other pieces are there. And the Steelers' defense is better than it's been in years. So that means a Super Bowl title may very well be on the shoulders of Big Ben Roethlisberger. Let's see what you do. Let's see what you do. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to your calls and more in a minute. Plus, R.J. Bell, resident handicapper out of Vegas, scheduled to come on the show, too. Stick around. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
We usually have our next guest on the line on Fridays, handicapping every week of the NFL season, but because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow and today is Thanksgiving Eve, it's one of those situations where we require the services of RJ Bell, founder for pregame.com. Pregame.com is the exclusive odds provider to the Associated Press. His Twitter handle is at RJ in Vegas. Once again, it is RJ Bell. He's live with yours truly right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. What's up, RJ? How are you, man? Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
Hey, here's the thing, Stephen. Grinders are working today. Stephen A. and RJ grinding, baby.
How about that? All road teams are being favored, it appears, on Thanksgiving Day. Let's get right to it. Minnesota favored by 3 at the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I like the Lions here, and here's the rationale. Thursday games are tough on the road team to start with, but imagine Minnesota off a big win, maybe their biggest of the season against the Rams. Now they're playing at 12:30 Eastern time on Thanksgiving. That's really, really tough for the road team. This game open pick 'em, but a lot of people excited about that Minnesota win, bet it all the way up to 3. I think up at 3, there's value on the lines. By the way, one of the stats of the week, Case Keenum, he has been sacked in the last 6 games. He's attempted to throw 200 passes one time in 6 games. So Mindy's playing really well, but I think they're expensive here. I like the Lions.
Let's go with the Los Angeles Chargers, favored by 2.5 at Dallas.
We always say every spread tells a story. This spread, Chargers by 2.5 at Dallas, says the Chargers are 5.5 points better on a neutral than the Cowboys. I mean, this is a 4-6 Chargers team, but there's injuries on the Cowboys. The left tackle, Smith, is questionable. Lee,
Don't
the
tell
linebacker.
me just that, RJ. You know good and well Vegas has lost faith in Dak Prescott.
Well, I think there's been a downgrade of Prescott, but I still think he's better than average. Vegas feels strongly about that. I think it's more Lee and the left tackle, Smith, who is still questionable. He may play. Either way, though, a lot of support for the Chargers here.
Redskins favored by 7.5, hosting New York Giants.
Yeah, I've been looking to play the Redskins this season, but this Chris Thompson loss at running back is bigger than most people think, and the Giants are such a high-variance team. They have 2 wins as double-digit dogs this year, and they've lost to the 49ers. I mean, it's hard to explain this team. I'm passing the game.
Bengals favored by 8, hosting the Cleveland Browns.
Boy, I've been burnt by the Browns so much recently. I'm staying away from them.
Who has it?
Anyone betting them? Last 20 games, Stephen A., they're 4-16 against the spread. Forget about straight up. 4-16 the Browns against the spread. I actually like the Bengals here. Here's why. In the last 6 games against the Browns, they've won 6 straight. That's fine. They've covered 6 straight. And they've actually won those games by over 3 touchdowns per game on average. So not only are the Bengals beating the Browns, they're dominating the Browns. I like the Bengals.
Eagles favored by 13.5, hosting Chicago Bears in Philly.
Oftentimes it's dog or pass for me on these really big spreads. But I don't want any part of this dog because I think teams that are having their breakthrough season, like the Eagles, they tend not to be flat when you expect them to be flat, like with a big spread. They want to just keep that freight train rolling.
I certainly didn't expect them to be flat against Dallas. I didn't know what my man Max Kellerman was thinking when he thought they were going to be flat against the Dallas Cowboys. That wasn't going to happen.
Well, listen, I know Max a little. He's not as sharp as you, Stephen A. Let's just agree with that right off. Last thing about the Bears is they're off 2 disappointing division games. I mean, 2 weeks ago when they were hosting Green Bay, they were favored by like 4 points in that game. The fact that Hundley has only looked good against the Bears and nobody else, that concerns me. I would lean Eagles.
Yes or no? Does Vegas consider the Philadelphia Eagles the best team in football?
Right now, they're tied with the Patriots.
Patriots favored by 7, hosting the Miami Dolphins.
Actually, look closer. 17. And biggest spread of the season. And listen, Miami has a 4-6 record, 4-6, but they could be the worst team in the NFL.
They have Jay Cutler. What's the debate?
Well, that's true. Actually, if Moore plays this week, we would upgrade them by about a point. So we do think Matt Moore is slightly better. But I like the Dolphins here. Here's why. Pats are off that Mexico trip. And if you look at the post-game press conference, a lot of talk from Belichick about dehydration, about fatigue. Altitude. I expect this to be I really expect this to be a very slow-paced game. And if you're getting 17, that's good. One of my best bets of the week on the Dolphins.
Did Vegas wonder what the hell McDermott was thinking by taking out Tyrod Taylor in favor of Peterman, especially after watching him perform?
I got to tell you, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I talked to one guy that really knows the Bills, and he said this. They have decided, the Bills, Taylor's not their future. But if they cut him in the offseason, it's only a $1 million cap hit, even though he's got that big contract. So they are inclined to cut him. But they looked at their schedule and said, we might make the playoffs with Taylor. Then it would be hard to cut him. So some people truly believe it was a sabotage. Is there any way, Stephen A., is there any way that the Bills thought that Peterman gave them a better chance last week?
Not after the way I watched him perform, I'll tell you that. But anyway, Chiefs are favored by 10 hosting the Bills.
And that's why I can't bet the Bills. I think whatever's going on behind the scenes here, I think the other players obviously know it. They saw Peterman in practice. He could not have looked all that good, right?
Actually, I was told that they were in favor of the coach giving him a chance because he looked good in practice and he looked good in preseason.
Okay, if that's true and I hadn't heard that, then that I'm still confused by all this, but I'm confused by Kansas City too. I mean, Andy Reid in his career off a bye entering last week, he was 19-3. The fact they lost to the Giants off a bye, I think both these teams, there's a big question mark. I'm going to pass it.
We're talking about Atlanta Falcons being favored by 10 hosting Tampa Bay.
I actually like Tampa here. Now, first, Atlanta is the number one wise guy team this season, meaning the wise guys have bet the Falcons almost every week. They've moved the line drastically almost every week. They actually were a favorite in Seattle, which hasn't happened in years against that Seattle team, obviously a little bit banged up. But I do like Tampa here. I think Fitzpatrick is at least equal to Winston, the way Winston has been playing. You got to wonder if this team feels free from all the drama and is playing a little freer. Tampa plus 10, I like it.
Panthers favored by 4.5 at the New York Jets.
So if you look at the advanced metrics, DVOA is what they call it. Carolina is the 9th best team in the NFL. Jets are number 27. So even though the Jets' record is really good, still the stats don't back them up. Cam is as healthy as any time all year. Carolina ran the ball well last game, first time in a while. And here's one of the stats of the week. Road favorites off of a bye. 63-24 against the spread. That's amazing because they're focused. I think Carolina is going to be focused. I lean Carolina.
Tennessee favored by 3.5, plus 3.5 rather, at the Indianapolis Colts.
That's my typo. They're actually favored by the 3.5. My typo. Sorry about that. But I do like the Colts here. One of my best bets of the week. I think Tennessee is just overrated. That 6-4 record is deceiving. I think this team's in the 20s. And one of the reasons, I think Mariota is regressing. Third year, you're supposed to get better. I don't see it. And
Him and Jameis Winston.
Yeah, both of them, really. I mean, imagine, would you have to think for a millisecond between Wentz and either of them? But they all were picked in the top two, right? So, yep. and even Goff, right, is right now, that's an interesting question. Who would you take, Mariota or Goff?
Oh, easily for me. You say Mariota. I'm sorry. I was thinking Wentz. I would say Wentz, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would say Goff right now based on what I'm seeing from Mariota.
And the fact that it's even a conversation shows you what kind of regression we're seeing.
That's
and
right.
The Colts, Brissett's playing better than people think. He's a mobile quarterback, and Tennessee doesn't do well against mobile quarterbacks. I like the Colts plus 3.5.
Seahawks favored by 6.5 at San Francisco.
Wow, think about this line. Is the Seahawks is a team I really wonder, have they had their dream crusher? They still can make the playoffs, but do you think these Seattle players think they have a chance at the Super Bowl? I mean, it's slim.
Not without Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman. I don't believe it.
I agree. So I wonder what I think that Monday Night Football game might have been their last stand. I question the motivation. I question the distractions just around this whole Seattle team. And 49ers, last thing quickly on this, Stephen A. The 49ers in one-score games the last 2 seasons are 1-10 straight up. Now, you might say, oh, that's why they're so bad. No, those close games have a big element of luck in it. They're probably underrated because they've lost all those close games. I actually like the 49ers here.
Rams favored by 2.5, hosting the New Orleans Saints, winners of 8 straight.
My game of the week here. The advanced stats have the Rams number 1 in the NFL, the Saints number 2, and this is a pros versus Joes. Pros are on the Rams, and the Joes are on the Saints here. And the spread, though, says these are even teams. Typically, home field is 3. Rams are favored by 2.5, but the Rams don't have as good a home field as most teams. So this is the market saying these are even teams. I'm going to stick with the pros on the Rams.
Jaguars favored by 5.5 at the Arizona Cardinals.
So you got Gabbert quarterbacking again. He's actually worse than Stanton, if you can imagine that. About 2 points
worse.
We downgrade him. And look at Peterson. He had that good first game, but last 4 games he's averaged less than 2 yards a carry in 3 of the 4. And here's the thing about the Jags. They had a good defense all year, but now that they've added Marcel Darius, last 3 games, they've given up only 2.5 yards per carry. And the Jags actually had a really bad rush defense prior to that. This Jags team is the best defense in the NFL. I would lean towards Jacksonville.
How the hell is the Oakland Raiders favored by 5 hosting the Denver Broncos? They don't look good on the other side of the ball.
Well, Denver doesn't either, right? 5 straight losses, 4 out of 5 by double digits. Now Paxton Lynch. Here's the thing to realize. When a team takes heat for not playing a high draft choice, you know how bad that draft choice is. We saw it last year with Goff. Whatever he's done this year, Goff was not ready last year, and everyone's saying, where's Goff? Where's Goff? Well, when they played him, he was horrible because he wasn't ready. Well, you think Lynch is getting played because he's all of a sudden ready, or they don't have any alternative? To me, Lynch is a downgrade. I was going to play Denver with Osweiler, but with Lynch, I think you're going to see a catastrophe. But I don't want to bet Oakland off of Mexico City and that altitude game, so I'm staying away.
Steelers favored by 14, hosting the quarterback-less Green Bay Packers because that bad man Aaron Rodgers is not there and Huntley is in his place.
Oh, Huntley has been bad in every game but one. We talked about that. I don't want Pittsburgh here, though. You asked, who's the best team from the Vegas perspective in the NFL? We said tied, Philly, New England. But you know who has the biggest upside in the NFL?
What?
We believe Pittsburgh. But that motivation with Tomlin, if there's not clear motivation, this team often lays an egg, so I'm staying away, but I want no part of Huntley either.
Baltimore Ravens, last one. Baltimore Ravens favored by 7.5 hosting Houston Texans.
I like the Texans here. Listen, let's give the Ravens D credit. One of the best in the NFL, but last week they had a shutout in like 22-0 game. But they only gained 219 yards of offense. Flacco's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year. What's Houston's weakness on defense? Their defensive backfield. I don't think Flacco's going to be able to take advantage. Houston's offensive line played their best game of the season last week. Give me the Texans plus 7.5 on Monday night.
RJ Bell, appreciate you, buddy. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and your loved ones. All the best to you, man.
You too, Stephen A. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to the phones we go right here at the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Apparently, my producer's going to send me some article that's been written about me, talking about I absolutely have to apologize to Steelers fans for my horribly inaccurate comments. I'm anxious about Ben Roethlisberger. I'm anxious to see this. Because, see, here's the difference between me and most people, I guess, in this business. Listen, I talk 4 live hours a day, 20 live hours a week. That doesn't even include Sports Center appearances and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize. And if Big Ben is out there listening, if Steelers fans across this nation are out there listening, if I'm wrong about what I said, I will apologize. I have no problem. It's not personal. I'm a Steelers fan. I didn't like what I was seeing after they lost to Jacksonville 30-9, and I said what I said. And I meant every word of it. If you don't want to play, you should retire. Obviously, the way he's been playing in recent weeks, that's not the case. But at the time I said it, I meant it. And if I was wrong in any way, I'll apologize. But I doubt I was wrong. I'll wait to see the article. Go back to the phones. Teddy, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., what's up, brother?
My brother, how are you?
Just want to say, man, you don't need to apologize. I'm a Steeler fan, been a Steeler fan since 1975. Hey, the truth hurts. What can you do?
Did you see what I said? Did you see what I said?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, did I say something wrong? I'm still trying to figure it out. What did I say that was wrong?
And that's why I say you make me laugh every day because you speak the truth. You keep up the good work, brother. Not going to waste any more of your time. Have a happy Thanksgiving, you and your family, and you just keep it rolling.
Have a happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. God bless. All the best to you, man. Let's go to Wendell in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Wendell?
Hey, holidays greetings, Stephen A.
To you too,
man,
bro.
I got a couple of points I want to run by you real quick. I think it was Herm Edwards that said we played to win the game, correct? With Buffalo, that stunt they pulled they were 5-4. You're in the hunt for a playoff, in the race. Why would you pull your starting quarterback that gave you the best chance to win to put an unproven commodity out there? I don't get it. I'm baffled by that move. And the question is, Baker Mayfield, do you think his immaturity and lack of self-control has cost him the Heisman Trophy?
Not at all. Not at all. He shouldn't be cost the Heisman Trophy at all. It was foolish for him to act that way and to respond to the critics the way that he did. But under no circumstances should it have anything to do with deciding whether he wins the Heisman or not. Absolutely not. Not the way he's performed this year. If you're going to take it from him for on the field stuff. Don't sit up there and try to get all sanctimonious and take it away from him because you wish that he behaved perfectly. That's not what this award is about. At least that's not what it's supposed to be about.
Anyway.
There we go. I appreciate it, brother. I got to go. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. 866-SAY-ESPN. We'll close out the show with your calls in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Sexy, sexy. Cold-blooded. 46 minutes past hour number 2 back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get back to the phones. By the way, the article calling for me to apologize to Big Ben Roethlisberger was posted 24 hours ago. It was by 247 Sports. Okay? You want to point to what I said a month or 5 weeks ago? You go right ahead. I will not apologize because I was right. At the time I said what I said. All I'm talking about is that he didn't seem like he wanted it anymore. That's what I said. And damn it, at the time, that's how he looked. Nobody's happier than me that Big Ben Roethlisberger is showing signs of being his old self these days. But damn it, that's how it looked. And I stand by it. Bootsy, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A.? This is Bootsy Barnes from Claxton, Georgia.
Did I not just say Bootsy? Did I not just say that?
Yeah, man. I just want to make sure you know.
All right, I did just say it to the world. You ain't got to repeat it, but go ahead.
Stephen A., I love your work. Big Ben is a proven winner. I don't think he gets the just due as being the elite quarterback that he is. He had a bad day against Jacksonville, but we've all
No. It was a suspect first 5 games. And what I was pointing to was the fact that it's not about you struggling, because I understand that. It was all these hints about not wanting to play anymore that was bothering me. That's what I was having a problem with Ben. I wasn't even bringing up numbers. I just had a problem with how he was always coming across like his heart wasn't in it anymore.
Expound on that. Okay, Ben knows how to manipulate the media to divert the attention
Time
away.
out.
from
Stop
them.
right there. Stop right there, Bootsy. That ain't my responsibility. You want me to take you at your word or don't you? If that's how you come to course, don't talk to me about manipulation. I took his word, and he sounded like he didn't want to play. So I said, you don't want to play, go to hell home. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If Bootsy, even if you lying, if you the one that gives off the impression you don't want to play, right? What's wrong with me saying, Bootsy, you acting like you don't want to play, go home. If that's the impression you giving.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is Pittsburgh will be in the Super Bowl and Big Ben will be the MVP.
That's the hope.
Mark my words, Stephen.
Okay. Hold on, Bootsy. Nobody would be happier than me. That's what I want. I'm a Steelers fan. All I'm saying is, if you're going to act like you don't want to play, don't sit up there and call me out for telling you that's how you sound.
Okay, that's
you the
your
one that
job.
did it.
I feel you. That's your job.
And hold on. Not only that, Bootsy, if you had a problem with what I said, how come you didn't say something October 10th? I said this October 9th. Why we a day away from Thanksgiving, eating turkey and chilling with the family, and here you come after winning 5 straight. How come you didn't say it that day?
Because now he has a track record.
I see. So when he didn't have a track record, it was all right to be quiet. Okay, I understand how you think, Bootsy. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is now we won. We ran off 4 or 5 games in a row. We're gelling. We beat Tennessee and showed that we're an elite team. We're gonna beat the Patriots. I'm gonna be in Pittsburgh when we beat the Patriots.
Hold on. Enough. No. This is Stephen A. Smith show. It ain't the Bootsy show. You listen to me, okay? You say we. You don't play with the Steelers, but you a fan, right? You're a fan, right? Well, guess what? So am I. So when you say we, you talk about me too. If you talk about you talk about me. So the point is that I didn't like the fact that my quarterback sounded defeatist. I didn't like it.
I have to agree. I have to agree with you there, though. That was
all right. Well, I gotta go. I gotta go, though. So I gotta go. I hear you, though. We gonna see what happens. I ain't going nowhere, Bootsy. Call back another time. Charlie in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. Big fan of the show.
Thank you. Go ahead.
What this Giants season is a completely colossal mess, and I was so disgusted when they won against the Chiefs because, I mean, the winning does not mean at this point because if it's early in the season, it's salvageable. Now, what this team has to lose, I don't want this team to win a damn game for the rest of the season.
Listen. I'm not going. No, Charlie. I'm not going to let you ruin my Thanksgiving by talking about the Giants. I got to go. I appreciate the call because I got other calls to get to. But I already said what you said about the Giants winning, beating Kansas City last week. I didn't need to see that happen. I think that was a mistake on their part. But it is what it is. Booker in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Oh, man. Much respect, Stephen A. I've been a fan for years, man. I want to talk in regards to the LeVar Ball, Donald Trump situation.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the way I see it is that men don't tell other men to say thank you. Men tell boys to say thank you. And I just felt in some ways Donald Trump finds ways to sun black men at any point.
Come on,
and it kind of looks like that.
Come on, bro. The one thing that we have to say about Donald Trump is that he's petty and he's vindictive and he goes after everybody. It's not trying to sun somebody or trying to make them feel like a boy as opposed to a man. He talks about senators. He talks about congressmen. He talked about the CEOs that walked off his economic panel. This ain't the time to bring up the race stuff, bro. He does it to everybody. Sorry, Booker. Sorry, Booker. We'll call back another day. He does it to everybody. Stop that. Stop it. Romello in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's going on? Appreciate you taking my phone call. Real quick. I hear a lot of talk about, Mayfield and a couple other college quarterbacks in the UCLA and the USC. Why hasn't there been much talk about Lamar Jackson, who I think is a phenomenal quarterback?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you're right, because in the New York Daily News, they're talking about how the New York Jets may be looking to take him. And I think it's something he's worthy of talk about. The problem is, Romello, you know what the deal is. Louisville hasn't been great this year, and that has a lot to do with it. But I got to run. Appreciate the call. Russell, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Hey, Stephen A., I appreciate the call. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Real quick on the whole Big Ben thing. I just feel like, I absolutely agree with you and that what he said is out of place and shouldn't do that as an elite quarterback that he is. But I do feel like you overreacted just a bit because he only gave you, out of this one instance, out of this one little brief moment of kind of being human, I think you overreacted just a little bit.
Well, you're entitled. Hold on, time out. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to disagree. I'm a Steelers fan. He alluded to retiring after losing the AFC Championship game. He alluded it again when he arrived for training camp. And then after he threw those 5 interceptions, he was talking about maybe I don't have it anymore. I don't want to hear that when Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith and that offensive line is your teammates and you finally got a decent defense for the first time in the last 5 years. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it, Russell.
Yeah, but I do think that as a Steelers fan, you should know that Ben Roethlisberger, when he's down, he's really down. And
Stop
when he's
it.
up, he's
All right,
up.
guys. Listen, I apologize. I got to run because it's Thanksgiving. I'm grabbing my Kleenex. I'm going to wipe the tears that you just gave me about Big Ben Roethlisberger and his sensitive self. I want to hear that. Keep winning. Bring a Super Bowl back to the Steel City. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Love y'all.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.